I never believe them because whenever they say we're going to get a lot, we never get a lot of snow.
She said
So
last
I
night
said
that's
it
not gonna
last
happen.
night, and I've been telling everyone. They're like, didn't believe me, but I woke up this morning and there was no snow. So didn't really disrupt our day at all.
It was being called perhaps the single most devastating winter storm to lash the Northeast since the dawn of recorded time. At least that's what the hype felt like. People in Massachusetts aren't whining about all the warnings as they try to dig out before Memorial Day. But in and around New York, people are lashing out and demanding action be taken on those who dared to take precautions. Let's welcome to MidPoint. He was the first Undersecretary of Emergency Preparedness and Response, otherwise known as Director of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Now, news talker at KHOW 630 in Denver, Colorado. Michael Brown joins us. Mike, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Ed.
Mike, would you have made the exact same call that the mayor of New York City and the governor of New York State made?
Let me tell you, I would have made the first initial call because you always want to be over-prepared and not under-prepared. But here's where people make a mistake. Two things. One, you need to monitor the situation hour by hour and be willing to either go forward or pull back. And that's where they made the mistake. Number two, I'm so tired of the hype. It's January. Guess what? It snows in January. So quit talking about, Snowmageddon, Armageddon, all these other things. The hype tends to turn people off. They get to the point where they're cynical, and when you need people to listen, they won't listen, just like that woman said. Hey, they're always wrong.
Is it just the idiocy sometimes of certain portions of the media that love to put somebody out there in the middle of a snowstorm? They put people in cars and they drive them around in the middle of snowstorms just to go ahead and show that they can. Is that part of the problem here too, though, Mike?
It is part of the problem because the news is no longer truly just about news. It is a business. It's about rating. How many eyeballs can you get on that screen? So the more you can hype it, the more your ratings are. And whether it's something that everyone is interested in. So the hype is what drives me nuts. Just report the facts. Let me give you an example, Ed. Hurricanes. The National Hurricane Center will give you a cone of probability. You know this down in Florida.
Sure.
It might hit anywhere from, Houston to Pensacola. And then as it gets closer, they begin to narrow it down. But what we're doing now, for some crazy reason, is just say the initial report says it's going to be the blizzard of, the past 5 centuries. They never, kind of cut it back a little bit and pull it back in. They shut the subways, for example. Governor Cuomo, he shuts down the subways, but you know the truth? The subways never stopped running. Now, if people needed to use those subways, they were there, but they were told they weren't using. Quit lying to people. Just tell people the truth about what's going on.
All right, now, other side of that, because you know you're going to hear this, people will say you have to stop people and help them from themselves because people are stupid. They will go out in the snow. There can be 50 feet out there. They'll go out and they'll try and drive. They'll kill themselves. And imagine here, even to take that the next step further, what would have happened if there were no warnings whatsoever and you had people who died? People would then be screaming at the government saying, why didn't you warn us and give us a better chance to stay out of it, right?
And the answer to that point is in your statement, and that is give people the facts. Give them the facts about here's what the models show now. We could have up to 3 feet of snow in Midtown Manhattan, and so we're going to take these precautions. And here's what you should be aware of, and here's what you should or should not do. An hour later, if that forecast has been revised downward, go out and tell people the truth about that. Give people the knowledge so they can make their own decision. This idea of just banning people from even getting out and walking on the sidewalks? Wait a minute. Do we have the legal authority to do that? And at some point, are people going to ignore it when they really should be paying attention to it? We're setting ourselves up for a disaster.
Mike, is all this just political correctness run amok again because everybody, and here's another one, they're basically covering their backside at every turn?
Here's what I think has happened post-Katrina, because you saw in Hurricane Katrina, which is now almost 10 years ago, you saw the failure of state and local government, you saw mistakes made at the federal government, and now every politician saw what happened to me, what happened to Bush, what happened to everybody else, and so now it's always an overreaction as opposed to a measured reaction and then being willing to pull back from that if necessary, or for that matter, to even make it even worse if that is justified.
Think de Blasio owes the people an apology and said that he was, and maybe say he's wrong or he was wrong?
Well, what he ought to do is quit going out and making light of it. I understand he read from the
Yep.
Onion magazine today.
Yes,
Come
he
on,
did.
Mayor. This is serious stuff. This is people's lives. You have a serious job here. It's okay to joke occasionally, but I wouldn't be joking about this.
Mike, we both know it's all about the optics sometimes, and that's what people
Amen.
only care about too often. Michael Brown,
Amen.
KHOW 630 in Denver, Colorado. Thanks a lot for the opinions, Mike. We'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, Ed.
All right, on to the Mother Nature side of things, the forecasters who apologize. That and so much more when we come back right here on MidPoint.